Hello everyone, my name is Georgios Kaloyanidis and I'm a corporate engineer with 12 years of experience in corporate hiring processes and psychometric evaluation. I want to speak about the psychometric inductive reasoning tests and more specifically for the SHL tests, which are the most commonly used tests for the recruitment processes nowadays by the employers, both in the private and also in the public sector. Well, what exactly are these tests? Let's start with some definitions. The inductive reasoning psychometric tests belong under the broad umbrella of the general aptitude tests. These tests include primarily three categories. The first is of course the inductive reasoning module, the second is the numerical reasoning module, and the third is the deductive reasoning module. Today we will focus on the inductive reasoning psychometric tests, which is the most frequently encountered module in the recruitment processes nowadays. It's included almost in the majority of the technical roles, both in the private and in the public sector, and someone can find them as well when he or she applies for administration roles, for roles in the healthcare, in the armed forces, in the senior management, and in several occasions even in sales. Let's talk about the test. The test itself measures your ability to process, interpret, and analyze information under extremely tight time limits. This is the reason why these tests are called psychometric. It is because they essentially measure your ability to handle stress and perform efficiently and effectively in this very stressful situation that they may arise in your future workplace that you want to be part of. As maybe you are aware, the inductive reasoning tests do not require any specialized knowledge. They primarily focus on the sequences of shapes and objects which inside form a pattern. You must decide the pattern and you, in the next step, apply the pattern that you found in order to determine which object or shape logically follows in the sequence. Though the output can have slight variations of what is expected for you to find, with some examples, maybe find of course the following frame in the sequence of objects or shapes that are presented to you, sort frames in the correct category, given that two or more than two categories are provided to you with relevant information in order to identify the patterns, or you need to find the odd frame inside the sequence of provided frames from the task. It is notable to mention that nowadays there are two major formats that one might encounter in psychometric tests, including the inductive reasoning, of course. It is the non-interactive format, which until now it was the most commonly frequently encountered one, and the second category is the interactive format, which is a topic that we will process in another video. Today I want to focus all of our attention to the non-interactive inductive reasoning psychometric tests, which is still the most frequently encountered format, as the interactive tests are still in a juvenile stage. Before passing on the actual sample of SHL inductive reasoning tasks, which is a topic that I will cover in the following video, I want to focus first on the guidelines that the candidate should follow in order to successfully and effectively complete each task within the test. These are known, or this is what I call as the 10 commandments of inductive reasoning tests, applied of course for the multiple choice format, and they are summarized as follows. Number 1, forget about the clock. Number 2, you must recognize and validate and pattern all patterns solely from the existing data. I'm referring to the sequences that are provided to you by the task. No assumptions must be made here. Third, pay as much attention to the task as it is needed. Avoid over-analyzing every single detail and lose precious seconds and time. Number 4, when a single alternative satisfies the pattern or the patterns that you have found, you must take it immediately and do not spend any additional time in this particular task. Number 5, do not identify every single pattern. It is not necessary. You need to identify only the bare minimum necessary. Number 6, use the skill of memory placement. More on this on a future video. Number 7. When one feature of an alternative contradicts the pattern, you should never take it. Number 8. A single feature in the matrix of the sequences of the frames, if it does not align with a pattern that you are currently investigating, then this is not a valid pattern, hands down. In matrices tasks, you need to search for patterns in the rows or the columns that are given in the matrix. And number 10, you need to be very careful on how you behave inside the app when you access it and you're working the graphical user interface of the evaluation test. I will explain and I will give more insights later in this video. A second topic that I would like to discuss before proceeding to the video of processing the SHL tasks is two most common myths that unfortunately currently are roaming around the internet regarding the inductive reasoning tests. Well, the first myth is that since there is no negative scoring, meaning that there is no deduction of points from any correct answer choice that you have given, then you are allowed to take an educated guess whenever you don't know or whenever you can't figure out the pattern of the task in order to submit as many tasks as possible in your evaluation. Well, this is definitely wrong, and I dare to say a very harmful approach, and I will explain why now. Now let's discuss a little bit this particular test report. This is a common standardized test report that you normally receive after you complete your psychometric evaluation. As you can see in the section of total results, you can clearly see that there are two distinct criteria that they are used for your evaluation. The first criteria is the score or the accuracy of the answers that you submitted for the test, and the second criterion is the completion speed of the test. As you can clearly see here, the test does not rely on a single indicator to give you a performance evaluation. On the contrary, it takes multiple criteria for generating your overall performance evaluation. Now, if we see a little bit deeper on the score report, we can see that these two criteria are evaluated for every single psychometric module that is included in the test. This means that the score and your completion speed is measured for the numerical reasoning tasks, the spatial or inductive reasoning tasks, and the verbal or deductive reasoning tasks. Now here at this point I want to mention that since there are multiple metrics that these psychometric tests are quantifying for your performance evaluation, it is safe to assume that there are also some hidden metrics that they are not visible to you via this report, but they are measured by the test and most likely they are sent as the result to the company or your evaluator. These metrics, these hidden metrics, can be your level of calmness when you are completing the test, can be your composure or the levels of anxiety that you exhibited when you were completing this particular evaluation. Thus, it is important to be aware and try to minimize any possible negative impact that these hidden metrics can have on your profile. Now, at this point, and based on my experience, I have to say that the accuracy of your answers is the most important criterion in the evaluation, in the overall evaluation. I'll say that the recruiters were much more focusing on how accurate I was in the answers that I provided, rather than the completion speed or the sheer volume of the tasks that I submitted to the test. Thus, it is important to avoid taking any guesses or taking any luck shots for the answers whenever you are not sure the correct answer in a particular task. It is far more important to spend a little bit more time and give a little bit more attention rather than giving up. Try to complete a higher volume of tasks just to show that you had a higher output volume in your evaluation. It is highly recommended not to roam around carelessly within the graphical user interface that you will have available, click in random places, or click in multiple answer choices that you have available before selecting the one that you deem as more appropriate as the answer for the task. This is because behavior correlates with high levels of stress, which indicates that you are not calm when you are taking the test, and this can negatively impact your performance and your results after you complete the test. So my advice is to be as composed as possible when you are delivering the test, avoiding abrupt movements of your mouse cursor inside the graphical user interface, and you should also avoid the excessive clicking around and use it only when you need to select and submit the correct answer. Now I want also to discuss the second misconception, that it is again unfortunately roaming friendly inside the internet, and this is the advice of practice. There is a general advice that you need a lot of practice to succeed in your psychometric inductive reasoning evaluation or any other psychometric evaluation that you may have to complete as part of your hiring process. Of course, this is essentially not a bad advice. On the contrary, it is a very positive and good advice. It is essential to put time, effort and practice in your preparation if you want to improve your results, but it is partially correct, which means that it reveals only part of the truth here. Grind and practice with the tests. As I mentioned, it is essential, but in order to yield the results that you need in order to proceed further in the recruitment process, you need to have a particular system and method behind your practice. You need to revise again and again all the possible patterns that might appear inside the test that you are taking regularly, every time before attempting to take a practice test or a simulation test, and more importantly, in the final day of your evaluation. Therefore, I would like to wholeheartedly recommend the book Mastering Inductive Reasoning Tests for Corporate Recruitment Processes, as it is the only book with a dedicated section of a patterns library, which includes a registration of every possible pattern that a candidate might encounter in his or her inductive reasoning psychometric evaluation day. As I mentioned, here in this particular section, you will find an exhaustive collection and a registration of every possible pattern inside a single database, easily accessible to you, assuming that you are preparing for a psychometric evaluation, which you can use again and again as you revise before taking a test. And in case you are interested of purchasing the book, or I'll leave the link in the description below. I would like also to add that this book includes 13 practice tests which are sufficient to practice and help you to fully prepare for your big day, but of course in case you want to practice with some additional simulation tests on your computer, then I will wholeheartedly recommend the Job Test Prep services, which is of course a paid subscription service, and which I have used personally multiple times in the past when I passed through a psychometric evaluation, and it helped me succeed in my evaluation too. So I will leave also a link in the description below in case you want to give the service a try. To wrap things up, this is all that I had for this particular video, which is also a brief and very compact summary of inductive reasoning psychometric tests and the guidelines with some tips on how you must approach the tasks during your final day. On the next video, I will follow with a demonstration of how you can apply the principles that we discussed, along with some more applicable tips and tricks that can help you maximize your performance even further during your evaluation day on my next video. I want to thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you found any value to the video. See you again and take care.